Okay, so let's talk about these shifts that we've all been experiencing through the past year and are going to be experiencing throughout the next at least 2 years, I would say, at least. I think everyone's been talking about shifts, shifts. Is it just me, or you can't go on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, any kind of social media without someone is talking about the shift, whether it's the energy shift or the timeline shift. And this has really come to the forefront of the collective consciousness, which is super exciting, in my opinion. So, why is it? What is going on? What are we all feeling? What has been happening to us? Well, I'm going to get into that because I think a lot of astrologers and actually, a lot of seers or mystics or people that have been connecting to the divine source of truth have been looking at 2026, 2025, 2026, 2027 as these years of shift. And there's a real astrological reason for that, which I'm going to get into. And I'm also going to talk about what we can kind of expect and what we should be doing from my perspective. And before we get into it, I'll just say, hi, my name is Dale. I'm also known as the Witch of YYC, and I talk about the spiritual war that we find ourselves in. We also find ourselves in right now some very literal wars. I read this morning that there was a cruise ship making its way through the Strait of Hormuz, and I can't think of a more perfect metaphor or visual representation of what the world feels like right now. A cruise ship is, it's a vacation, it's a party, it's, you're kind of in this bubble of excess and pleasure and indulgence, right? And just picturing that image of all these people on this cruise ship traveling through the Strait of Hormuz, which has been such a central part of this war in Iran, and just knowing that it's been open, it's been closed. We're looking at huge potentials of fuel and energy shortages, which will lead to food shortages and all of these catastrophic consequences of this war happening, and literal people being hurt and dying. And these two images side by side is what we've all kind of been living through. We're watching the world literally crumble and burn while on Instagram, and that'll be one reel, and the next reel will be I don't know, some viral dance or something like that. We've reached such a level of absurdity in this present reality that is, for me, fascinating. It can be terrifying, and but also it can be, like I said, absurd, incredibly entertaining and amusing. And how are you supposed to navigate this and react and keep yourself sane? These are the questions that are going through my mind. So if those have been going through your mind also, you might want to hear kind of what's been going on, okay? Because it's a lot, and this is really an unprecedented time in recorded history, in humanity. These shifts that we're seeing in the planetary spheres are 100% influencing what's happening here right now. And I'll talk about the current state and what has happened in the past, the different cycles, and how that could play out going forward. So right now, the four outer planets, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and Saturn, are all shifting from one sign into the next. And this has been happening, it kind of started in actually kind of 2024, 2025, because the planets move forward a bit and then they retrograde back into the old sign. But what's happening is they are making their final movement into the next sign this year. 3 of them have already happened. The last one, Uranus, is moving on this Friday. So I'm recording this on Wednesday, April 23rd, and on April 25th, this Friday, Uranus is making its final ingress into Gemini, and into the next sign that it's moving into. And to me, it really feels like this is the last key in the combination that is clicking into place for this new reality, this new realm, this new paradigm that we are shifting into. Super exciting. So what was the first key? The first key was Pluto in Aquarius. So Pluto. So, and before I even start talking about Pluto, I want to mention the significance of the impact of these 4 planets shifting into new signs all at once. This has not happened, and especially not in this way. The 4 outer planets really govern the collective consciousness, humanity. They shape society and culture, and the reason for that is because of how slowly moving they are. So, as a contrast, the moon moves into a different sign every 2.5 to 3 days, and so the moon, which governs our emotions and our intuition and our inner world, is constantly moving through the different signs, and will move through the full zodiac sign calendar, zodiac wheel, in a 30-day period, every month, right? And 28 to 30-day period. And so that's the moon cycle, which a lot of us are familiar with. But to know that the moon moves through each sign every 2.5 days. So currently the moon is in Cancer, and it will be moving into Leo tomorrow, I believe. And so then Virgo, and on and on. And so we can see how that kind of influence would connect to us really personally, because it's happening so fast, and because it does connect with our emotions and our inner world. It's it's what we call one of the personal planets in astrology, and that's the same with the Sun and Mercury and Mars and Venus. However, these 4 outer planets, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, and Saturn, move very slowly. For example, Pluto just moved into Aquarius, where he will be for the next 20 years. So the moon switches signs every 2.5 days. Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for 20 years. That's a generation, okay? And incidentally, Pluto is what determines the generations, and I will be getting into that in another series, which, if you're interested in that, I don't know, stay tuned. I'm really excited. But so these outer planets have such a long, drawn out influence, where we feel it over months, years, sometimes decades. And that really puts an imprint on our collective consciousness, on our culture, on society, on how humanity moves through the ages. So these 4 planets are all making this huge shift from one type of energy to another at the same time. And what's really fascinating about this is that they're moving from earth and water, which made me emotional, interesting, to fire and air. Okay, so not only are they moving through different signs, but the elemental shift that they are bringing with this is huge. Earth and water, earth is stable, it's grounded, except when there's an earthquake or something like that. Like the shifts are big and really felt like tectonic shifts, right? That feels more stable. It feels easier to navigate, right? You can regain your footing because once an earthly shift happens, there's stability once again, right? That's how I look at it. And the same with water. So water is flowing and helps us to go with the flow. And water tends not to, well, it can become stagnant, right? And when you have earth and water and there's this stagnant mud forming, then we can get stuck in certain patterns and cycles. And I think, like, if we look at the past, we'll just say the past 15 to 20 years, just for simplicity's sake, there has been a lot of that, but there also has been a lot of emotion, and the feminine spirit has been rising, and that to me all feels very water element. So moving from those kind of energies into fire and air is going to, and has already, I believe, really shaken, we'll use this metaphor again, the jar of bees. It's really shaken the jar of bees. And if you're feeling like you're not on stable ground, you don't have that secure footing, that could be part of the reason right now, because we're trying to acclimate, and these shifts have been happening only recently and are still in the process of being felt very strongly. So fire and air, well, air fuels fire, and fire left untouched will destroy everything in its path until it exhausts itself. And so that is a lot for the entire collective of humanity to shift into and to start feeling. And we're really seeing that play out on the world stage. I think that shift from, what felt fairly status quo, like, yes, there have been a lot of shakeups, and especially over the past 6 years since 2020, y'all know what I'm talking about. There's been a lot of shakeups, and it hasn't always felt super stable, but there was always this sense of return to normal for a lot of people. And I think we're realizing now as a collective that there's no going back to what we thought was normal. And in fact, what we thought was normal, we are now seeing the veil is being lifted from our eyes, and nothing was normal, actually, in actuality. And do we want to go back to that anyhow? I think for most, the answer is no, whether they're willing to say that or not, okay? So this movement, like I said, we're in the initial phase of these shifts, and but these foundations, these structures that our society has been built upon are going to change. And any illusion, any secrets, anything that has been hidden is being revealed, which is very exciting. But it's also uncomfortable. It's also discombobulating. I don't know why that's the word that comes up, but I think people are feeling that, like, really, to think of a metaphor, it's like a creature that has been picked up out of one environment where they felt safe, where they felt at least they understood, what was happening in their little ecosystem. They've been picked up and plopped down into a completely different foreign land where they don't know anyone. They don't know the terrain. They don't know what's safe and what's not. What are the predators? Where are they lurking? And that, you're going to be discombobulated. You'll be a little shaken up and confused. So I think that there's a lot of that happening right now as well. And this transition period that we're in is unstable. There's a lot of instability, and we're going to see, we've seen, as these planets have been shifting, we've seen the earthquakes, we've seen the flash floods, we've seen the hurricanes, and we're really seeing these massive fires and explosions, and there are these winds of change, these massive winds of change that are just fanning these flames that we're going to continue to see for a while. Okay, so what can we expect in this new fire and air realm, in this paradigm, in this shift, right? It's going to be revolutionary and unpredictable, and we will need to be incredibly flexible in order to adapt. I believe that changes are going to happen fast with the technologies that we currently have, not to mention what I believe are our biotechnologies that are really going to come online during this time. I think we're going to, moving from water into air and fire in particular, I think we're going to have less feeling and more doing. It's going to be more action oriented, potentially. Less following and more thinking. Hopefully, I think we've seen actually a transition towards that already, again, over the past 6 years, where people are starting to look at things with a more critical lens and not really taking the narratives at face value and just happily swallowing what's being spoon-fed to us every day. So I think we are seeing a lot more of that, and we will continue throughout the age. And less accepting and more initiating. So it really feels like these past structures and societal norms have been handed to us, been given, imposed upon us, and in like over the generations in particular as well, and in the name of comfort, convenience, ease, and safety, efficiency, all of those words have been huge, and have led us to the point where we are now. But I think a lot of people are realizing that, hey, we're not so free, are we? We're really slaves within this system, and the chains were clamped on before we even realized what was happening. And I hear a lot of videos and people talking about, like, oh, the beast system is coming, and don't take the mark, and don't get the chip and things like that, because then you'll be a part of the beast system. My friends, we are already a part of the beast system. It has been built around us, and I think people are starting to feel that, come to that recognition that we're already in this system, and we're already at the point where we can't buy, trade, or sell without being a part of the system. And the marks are already there. Are they implanted in us right now? Who knows? Maybe. But the point is, we're already, like, you don't have to wait for that. If you're looking for something specific, and you're like, well, that's going to be the final straw, and that's where I'm going to say no, because that's when the beast system is going to be ushered in. It's already been ushered in. It has been manifested in place, and now is the time to see that, be aware of it, and exit, in my opinion. So I think we're going to see more initiating of that. What do these parallel systems look like? What does it look like to return to community and tribal living, which is personally what I think the solutions are moving towards. And it's going to take a lot of courage, strength, commitment, community, organization, and unity, real harmony, like staying together, sticking together. But I think that these outer planets are not only helping us to prepare for that, but will help propel that new paradigm, that new reality, the new world, the new earth, whatever we want to call it. Okay, that was a lot. It felt like an intro, but there was a lot to that. And like life is just a lot right now, so let's take a breath. Okay. So what do we got? What's going on? So Pluto was the first planet to shift from the old into the new, and I love that because Pluto is this generational planet. So it's really kind of leading the charge and saying, you know what, guys, I'm holding this down for the next 20 years, so let's get ready. And Pluto moved from Capricorn into Aquarius. And this is a major shift. So this is from Earth to air. So Earth to air. And Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth, of transformation, like death and rebirth cycles of transformation, transforming the psyche, transforming the shadow, transmuting the light into the dark, doing the shadow work. It's the unconscious. It's like all of these deep, dark recesses of the self, but also of the collective, of humanity. And moving into Aquarius is really about, Aquarius is about revolution, breaking free of the status quo, individuality, and technology, and all of these innovative, exciting things. And so Pluto is asking us, what do we need to revolutionize? What do we need to innovate? What, like, really, humanity, look at yourselves. What is no longer working? And are you being the individual that you need to be in order to create the dream world that you want? And it's interesting. I find it so interesting, the whole technology piece of Pluto in Aquarius, because we are seeing AI expand and improve and change at phenomenal, in my opinion, frightening rates. However, and not only that, but also all of these technological advances with surveillance, but also currency and social media and media in general, and AI has been a huge part of all of that, and it's all really centered around this technocratic future where, people like Elon Musk want us to merge with the machine, which I'm going to say, no thank you. I prefer to be organic as much as possible. And where I really think the possibility and the potential of Pluto in Aquarius when it comes to technology is our biotechnology. And by this, I mean, do we need, do we need to watch the news or doom scroll reels to get a real sense of what's happening in the world? Or can we tap into our intuition and connect with the neural network, the unseen, invisible threads that connect us all as a collective? Can we just kind of tap into that and get a sense of what is really happening over on the other side of the world, and feel it in that way? Or do we need a phone to message our friend or to set up a FaceTime or something like that? Or can we tap into our telepathy? I don't know how many people are actually feeling their intuitive and psychic gifts coming online, but I think that is a huge part of this Pluto in Aquarius movement. And I just kind of got in my ears. To me, that's a confirmation that, people are feeling it, and people are starting to recognize that, hey, there's more to this realm than we can see, than we can feel, than we can hear and touch. And they're realizing that because they are starting to see and feel and hear and touch in between the realms and these unseen energies, which is super exciting. And I believe that that's really part of this Pluto in Aquarius movement. And I want to take this even further, and I want to say, do we need automobiles? Do we need automobiles? I feel so old school. Do we need aeroplanes, aircrafts, and all of these different kinds of transportation methods? Or can we tap into our ability to teleport, or to fold time and space, to manipulate this realm in ways that we may not even conceive of in this moment, but that I think the media representation in movies has absolutely been showing us it is possible. And we just need to start believing it, playing with it, practicing it, and remembering it. And I think that this is a huge part of what Pluto in Aquarius is bringing to us. Okay. So that happened. So Pluto already shifted into Aquarius and is going to be sitting there for the next 20 years. And this gives us a lot of time to really experiment and to figure out, what is this revolution looking like, and what is our individual place in it, and how do we use the energies, the frequencies, the vibrations of the realm to create the paradise, right? The next shifts that I'll kind of talk about together, because it happened pretty well together, were Neptune and Saturn. So Neptune and Saturn moved from Pisces into Aries. So these two planets moved from water right into fire. And as much as earth and air are opposites, water and fire, of course, are opposites. And Pisces energy was kind of all about like dreaming the future, I think. And Saturn and Neptune had a big role to play there, right? I think we were all starting to think about, you know what, the system. First of all, we're in a system and it is not working. And there are all these elected officials and unelected officials who are dictating what's happening in our lives. And, you know, we're really starting to see through all of that and to feel the impact of it. And now with Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries, we feel ready to do something about it. Aries is initiatic. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it is that fiery spark of creation. It is that moment in time where, you know, nothing existed, and then all of a sudden there was light, illumination. It is action. It is quick moving and passionate, aggressive, determined. It is a warrior. And we just had this, just happened over the past few months of this year of 2026. Neptune and Saturn were kind of dancing back and forth. They would move into Aries a little bit over the past year and then come back into Pisces and cool down and ease off and, you know, give us a little bit more time to reflect. But now they have made that final shift into Aries, and to me, that's go time. And it's really felt that way. And on the world stage, we've seen that manifest in the wars. We've seen that manifest in the Epstein files being released, and all of that illusion of you know, what people are doing in the world behind closed doors, that illusion is completely dissolved, and we're seeing it for what it really is. And now, so Neptune will be in Aries for the next 14 years. So this again is another generational kind of movement. Neptune governs our dreams, our spiritual connection, like our higher intuition, if you will. Neptune also is illusions, and I mean that kind of comes with dreams, right? Like, I don't know, like the delulu that we can all experience sometimes. But that helps us to manifest, right? Like, this is like, what can you conceive, and how do you, what are the limits? There are no limits. Neptune says there are no limits. Boundaries do not exist, and help us to see all the possibilities, which, you know, sometimes can be dangerous if we're lost in the dream, but can also help us to realize what is possible and what can be accomplished. And so that energy moving into Aries, which is like really passionate and forward moving, there's a lot of momentum with Aries. It like really gets the party started. That's really exciting to me, because now we have these 14 years to really break free from all the barriers and all the boundaries and all the borders that have been boxing us in, and realize that our potential is completely limitless. Our connection to spirit is completely limitless, and we are the creators, and we are designing this realm. It's, you know, it's, I believe, our collective belief that holds this place together. So you want to talk about breaking the matrix and breaking the spell? We need to shift our beliefs, and that's what Neptune in Aries is really going to do. The evidence is going to be right here. There's not going to be any more denying. So super, super exciting. It's the start of that. And Saturn in Aries shifting with Neptune at the same time is really exciting, because Saturn is going to be in Aries for 2.5 years, give or take. And Saturn moves a bit quicker out of the 4 outer planets. And Saturn is a little bit the opposite of Neptune, where if Neptune is about the limitless and dissolving the boundaries, Saturn is really about the boundaries and the container and the parameters and the rules and the structure and the discipline and the tough lessons. It's also karma. It's Saturn. Oh, you know, Saturn gets a bad rap, you know, this whole black cube of Saturn, which I understand for sure. But at the same time, Saturn helps us to get things done and helps us to really remove any of the barriers, but does it with does it more with an iron fist, I would say, rather than dreamy awareness. So it's exciting that these two have moved together, because Neptune's kind of floating up in the clouds of Aries, like a floating burning cloud right now. But Saturn is on the ground and is saying, you know what? This revolution is starting, and we need a strong start. We need to really get things done. And yes, let's dream of all the possibilities and what the future could potentially hold. But in the meantime, we are still very much in the system, okay? Very much. Even if you say that you're not. Even if you say, well, I've escaped the matrix, or, you know, I'm no longer living in the structure, I would bet most people, a good, you know, 98% plus, really are. unless, you know, you're looking at like the Amish or these small kinds of communities where they do live kind of outside the system, but I'm seeing them starting to blend and to be, you know, pulled into some of these structures. And are they 100% out of it? You know, they're trading with money and things like that. So I would question that as well. But Saturn's saying, hey, we're very much in this system, and you're going to need some sort of system, some sort of support to guide you through these next couple years while the world is burning, while the tower is crumbling, while all this shakeup, all these shifts are happening. And Saturn is like, okay, I can help you hold this together. I think without this influence right now, it would be even more of a disaster. We're going to need people to start building the new systems, and Saturn in Aries is taking action. Saturn in Aries is saying, okay, there are certain things that need to be put in place, and I'm going to help you guys with that. I'm going to help to make this transition a little less all over the place and willy-nilly, and to put a little bit of discipline around that. So loving that. But it's also in this Aries fiery energy. So it's like, oh, but we got to do it now. And I think this part of why a lot of people are feeling a lot of urgency, like there's no time. You know, the world is ending and there's no time. I've got to do what I need to do. I have to figure out this. I've got to do this. I got to find safety. And that actually brings me to something that I wanted to mention. A lot of people have been asking me, especially since last year I was traveling for a few months and then came back to my hometown, and a lot of people in my circle have been asking me, like, where is the best place to settle right now while the world is so unsettled? Like, in my opinion, did I find a place that, you know, isn't as impacted by the chaos that's happening in the world right now, right? Or what would be the easiest transition? Where would be the safest place? And to that, I say, the best place for you to be during this time right now is where you have some stability and structure. And I say that in the case of community, people that you can trust and rely upon, people that will support you, people that you know are like-minded and have your back, people that that also trust you and rely upon you, where you can you know, build more of a community with them if things come to that that kind of circumstance where you know, you need someone in your life who knows how to make bread. You need someone in your life who knows how to identify medicinal plants. You need someone in your life who knows how to hunt or to fish or to gather food, who knows how to ferment and to preserve food, who knows how to build a shelter. Like, what are these basic skills, and who do you know in your life that has them? You don't need to do it all. You don't have to be, you know, the ultimate prepper, ultimate homesteader. But what I'm saying is, I think it's the best place for you to be is where you can find people who can do it all together. That is key. And that's the kind of stability that I think you should be looking for. Or a place where you have, if you have land, if you have, if you own your home, if you have like a stable shelter, essentially, or place to plant your flag, so to speak. Those would be the two main things that I would look for. And I say that it doesn't matter where you are in the world right now. The one thing that I learned during my travels is that shit's going down everywhere. Like, this is happening everywhere, okay? It's not just coming to a city near you. It's every city, town, country on Earth right now is experiencing the same kind of chaos. Well, maybe not necessarily the exact same kind of chaos, but a flavor of the chaos that I think we're all about to experience shortly, as you know, the controllers of the realm, as they really start to, I mean, they have, like, the hammer has come down. It has been full throttle for a while. Could it get worse? For sure. Can we prevent that? I think so. I really think it comes from our collective consciousness and our frequency and our vibration, and what levels are we holding, and how we can energetically and intentionally shift the balance. Okay? That was a bit of an aside, but I really feel like Saturn in Aries is asking us this question is, okay, where are your people? Where's your community? And where do you feel like you have some sense of stability and safety? And find it right now. That's the best place to be, okay? And then build from there. And now this last shift, so the one that I've been wanting to talk about since the start of this video. In 2 days, Uranus is shifting from Taurus, which is currently sitting at 29 degrees Taurus, and on Friday we'll be moving to Gemini. So this is another earth to air shift. And Uranus will be sitting there for 8 years in Gemini. And Uranus has really been shaking up. Okay, because let me pedal back here for a second. Uranus is the planet of unique expression, individuality. It's like rules Aquarius, so very similar themes to Aquarius: revolution, technology, individuality, innovation, all of these kinds of things, stepping out of the status quo. And Uranus is moving into Gemini. And Gemini is this sign that is all about communication, logic, the intellect. It's also about, it's the dichotomy, the duality between male and female. It's the balance of that twin kind of energy. And while Uranus has been in Taurus, it has been shaking up our beliefs, our ideas on what it means to be stable, the financial system. Taurus rules our money, our value, our self-worth. So a lot of those themes have been really played with and have been shifting. And I feel like, we're really starting to look at the whole idea of currency in general. Does it make sense, right? And does it make sense? Money, obviously, in my opinion, does not make sense. It really has no value. We've just kind of all agreed that to play that game, that's a big part of the system that's keeping us stuck in there. But as Uranus moves out of Taurus, we're going to start thinking, intellectualizing, conceptualizing things in a very different way. And again, this dance between Uranus in Gemini and Taurus has been kind of going back and forth, and we're realizing that there is a different way, and that things, if it doesn't make sense, then why are we continuing to do it, right? That's the definition of insanity. And we are also seeing the inconsistencies in our media, in our information, in the way that we're communicating with ourselves, with each other, with the world stage and those players and how they're communicating to us, and all of that is really being exposed. And we're thinking about, well, how can we revolutionize, how can we change that whole thing, that whole industry, the misinformation machine, the propaganda machine. We're seeing it much more clearly and questioning it, And I don't know about you guys, but when I see clips from the news, to me it just looks 100% like scripted theater. And I don't buy it. I'm not buying it anymore. There was a time when for sure I did, but as these energies have been shifting and what we're seeing, what we're going to be seeing over the next 8 years, I think, that industry does not have long to live. And this has also given us the rise of these other sources of truth, and I'm using air quotes here because, I think there's a lot that still needs to be investigated or felt, listened to with our heart rather than with our mind to discern and use our inner judgment. And Uranus in Gemini is going to show us that. And again, I think that this is the biotechnology coming online, and our telepathy, our intuition, and our connection with each other as the collective, as the all, which is very, very exciting. It feels very revolutionary to me. Okay, so and that's the final key. It feels like once that happens, it's really, the train has left the station, and we are on this road, and things are going to change, and I think we really get to decide what that change looks like and how it manifests. And so I would encourage you to, talk to the people in your community, talk to your inner circle, your family, your friends, or your online communities and things like that about, okay, guys, what are we building? Let's be serious about this, because the powers that be, the controllers of the realm, they're serious, and their plans have been in place for a really long time. And a lot of us are just waking up within the past few decades to this, or the past few years, and are really seeing whoa, this spiritual war has been going on for a very long time, and we have been literally under a spell. So as the spell is breaking, something else needs to come, right? Something else needs to replace the way that we've been living. And we get to decide. We define that. So this is very, very pivotal time, and we all incarnated at this time to be a part of it intentionally. So let's do it. I'm excited. Speaking of revolution, okay, I wanted to mention this just really quickly at the end here, because I know this video has gotten a little bit long, but these planets shifting from these signs into these new signs is so significant, not only because of all the reasons that I've already mentioned, which I won't mention again, but because of the cycles and the trends that these shifts have demonstrated in the past. And it's incredibly revolutionary. So I have some notes here, and so I'll start with Pluto in Aquarius. And actually, no, I'm going to go backwards here. I'm going to start with Uranus in Gemini. So the last time Uranus was in Gemini was in 1941 through 1949. I think a lot of us kind of know what was happening in the world then. But then also in 1861 through 65, and 1774 and 1782. So we have not only World War II, but this U.S. Civil War, the American Revolutionary War back in, 76? I don't know, I'm Canadian. But then also radio and early television in the early 40s, women entering the workforce. We can see that this was a very revolutionary planetary shift. Saturn in Aries was 96 to 99. That was the last time. And there we had the Clinton impeachment trial. The 96 War Crimes Act was passed. There were some major deaths within those years, Princess Diana and Mother Teresa. And then we also had the dot-com boom. So this is really when DVDs, Wi-Fi, MP3s, Netflix, Napster, camera phones, Blackberries, all of these things were coming onto the scene, and we saw a huge, like it was like Saturn was like, oh, you've been dreaming of all these things, let's make them real now. And so now we're at a point where we've been dreaming about all these things, let's make them real now, right? Neptune, last time Neptune was in Aries was in 1861 to 75. So again, during the American Civil War, the unification of Italy and the German Empire, slavery was abolished, the typewriter was developed, early motion picture technology also. So a lot of innovation, a lot of revolution, innovation, right? And now I'll end with Pluto in Aquarius, because this is my favorite, but in 1777 to 1798, this is when we had the so-called Age of Revolution. It was the U.S. Revolution, the French Revolution, the Haitian Revolution, the Irish Rebellion happened during then as well. We also at the same time had the Industrial Revolution, so we can see how technology changed during Pluto in Aquarius. With the telescope, we had hot air balloons, steamboats. The guillotine was invented, just saying, during that Age of Revolution. But also the smallpox jab. So these are kinds of themes and cycles that we can be looking forward to over these next few years. And may I mention that these planets shifted, just, one of them spurred all this revolution. Just one of these shifts and could, completely change humanity. And we have 4 major shifts happening at the same time with these outer planets. And that's what you've been feeling, and that's what humanity has been experiencing. And I think that's what we have to look forward to. So take a breath, sit with it. It was a lot. It's going to be a lot. It feels like we don't have time, but we do. And we're all in this together because we are all one. And I really believe that, there's been a lot of talk about timeline shifting, timelines collapsing. I want to talk about this in another video specifically and really get into it. But I believe that we are on the timeline where good wins. We are in the spiritual war, and for me, there's only one outcome, and I see it very clearly. And I see humanity really returning to our own intelligence and power and appreciating this gift that we have in this realm and doing it together. So I'm really excited, and I know even though it can be scary and sometimes I get stuck in the pit of darkness, eventually I realize that there is hope, because I know that there's people like you and me here who are working together and really navigating these shifts in the most positive, productive kind of way. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, put them down below. I would love to hear them. If there's anything that really resonated with you, or that you're questioning, you want to know more about, send me a note, and do the YouTube things. If this video resonated with you, please share it with a friend, or all of your friends, maybe your family, and I'll see you guys in the next one.